I need to tell you something that I've been sitting with for months now. Something that fundamentally shattered everything I believed about friendship, trust, and loyalty. And honestly, it's taken me this long just to talk about it without my hands shaking. My name is Marcus, and for 15 years, I had a best friend named David. We grew up together, played football together, went to college together, and when I decided to start my consulting business in 2019, there was literally no one else I wanted by my side. David wasn't just my business partner. He was my brother. Or at least that's what I thought. The business was exploding. We specialized in helping mid-sized tech companies restructure their operations. Within 2 years, we'd gone from 2 guys in a garage to a 6-figure operation with 12 employees. We were getting recognized. Awards. Features in business publications. This was the dream, you know? Building something meaningful with your best friend. But around year 2, I started noticing something weird. Small things at first. Cash flow inconsistencies that didn't make sense. We'd land a major contract. Let's say it was a $50,000 project. But by the time the money hit our account, it felt like we were barely breaking even after expenses. I'd mention it to David, and he'd have this smooth explanation ready. Oh, that client negotiated the final payment down. Or, yeah, that project took more hours than anticipated. I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him, because the alternative was too painful to consider. By year 3, I was working 80-hour weeks, stressed constantly, questioning my own business instincts. I remember lying in bed at 2 a.m., wondering if maybe I just wasn't cut out for this. Maybe I wasn't a good business owner. Maybe my numbers were just off and I was being paranoid. Looking back, that self-doubt, that was the real damage. That was the part that got under my skin the deepest. The turning point came when Sarah, one of my consultants, quit. Not dramatically. She was professional about it. But when she came into my office to give her 2 weeks' notice, I asked her, as I did with everyone, if there was anything I could do to keep her. And she paused. She actually paused. And then she said something that made my stomach drop. Marcus, I love working with you. You're brilliant at what you do. But I can't work here anymore. And I think you deserve to know why, even if it costs me. Apparently, David had been approaching her, and other consultants, for months, offering them higher pay if they'd redirect client work to him. He'd set up shell companies, side gigs. He was literally stealing our clients, our intellectual property, and then billing them separately under names I'd never heard of. And he was paying our own employees to help him do it. My best friend was systematically dismantling the business we built together. When Sarah left, she didn't just tell me. She gave me documentation, emails, text messages, screenshots, everything. My hands were actually trembling as I read through it. Some of it was from over a year earlier. A full year. A year that I'd spent second-guessing myself, losing sleep, wondering if I was failing. And David? He knew exactly what he was doing. That night, I didn't sleep. I just sat in my home office, going through every financial record for the past 3 years. And when you know what to look for, it becomes so obvious. It's actually terrifying how obvious it is once you see it. The patterns jump out at you. The transfers to accounts in variations of his name. The consulting fees paid to entities that don't exist. The inflated expense reports. The double billing. By my calculations, he'd stolen approximately $187,000 from the business. Maybe more. $187,000 from his best friend. I remember thinking, he's been stealing from me while I'm going home at night worrying about making payroll. While I'm cutting my own salary to keep people employed. While I'm lying awake at night thinking I'm a failure as a business owner. He wasn't just taking money. He was taking my confidence, my peace of mind, my trust in my own judgment. And he was using my own employees to do it. The anger I felt in that moment, I've never felt anything like it. It was the kind of anger that makes you want to do things you can't come back from. The kind where you imagine confrontations that escalate. Where you picture legal destruction. Where every scenario ends with him losing everything. But I made a choice in that moment. I decided I wouldn't make this about revenge. I would make it about justice. And there's a difference. I spent the next week doing something that was harder than being angry. I got methodical. I hired a forensic accountant, someone who specialized in uncovering financial crimes. I didn't tell David. I didn't confront him. I just quietly, systematically began building an airtight case. While he was at work, acting like nothing had changed, I was documenting everything. Bank statements, email trails, communications with the employees he'd corrupted. I recorded conversations legally in a one-party consent state where David casually mentioned his side projects. Every single piece of evidence went into a secure folder. And here's the thing about betrayal. Once you start looking for it, you see it everywhere. I realized he'd been slowly isolating me from certain clients, certain projects. He'd been feeding me information that was strategically incomplete, making himself indispensable by being the only one who understood certain accounts. It was sophisticated, almost admirable in a way, if it hadn't been so evil. I also contacted our company lawyer and informed her what I suspected. She advised me on the legal implications, and we developed a strategy. Not just to recover the money, though that mattered, but to protect the business going forward. To make sure this couldn't happen again. Then I did something that surprised even me. I called David and I asked him to meet me for lunch. We went to this Italian place we used to go to all the time, back when we were just two kids with a dream. And I sat across from him, knowing what I knew, and I watched his face. And I realized something. He had no idea that I knew. He actually thought he'd gotten away with it. He was laughing, making jokes about work, talking about how excited he was about some personal projects he was working on. And every time he said it, I felt this sick feeling in my stomach because I knew exactly what those personal projects were. I didn't say anything that day. I just listened. I ate my lunch. I let him believe that everything was fine. Because the best revenge isn't destroying someone immediately. The best revenge is letting them think they've won, while you're quietly building the evidence that's going to dismantle everything they've built. That weekend, I called an all-hands meeting at the office. I told the team that I'd discovered a serious financial discrepancy and that I'd be conducting an internal audit. I said it calmly, professionally, and I watched David's face go white. He tried to play it cool, but I could see the panic. I could see him mentally calculating, trying to figure out what I knew, trying to plan his escape route. Monday morning, David didn't come to work. He sent an email saying he'd resigned from the company, effective immediately. No notice, no explanation, just gone. But he was too late. What happened next was the culmination of everything I'd been building. My lawyer sent David a formal demand letter detailing everything. The embezzlement, the wire fraud, the conspiracy with employees, the stolen intellectual property. We had documentation for $187,000 in stolen funds. We gave him 10 days to respond. His lawyer immediately started making settlement offers. Lowball offers at first. Insulting offers. Like he thought I'd be grateful to get anything back. But I wasn't interested in settling. I was interested in accountability. We filed a civil lawsuit. The case was airtight. The forensic accountant had traced every penny, every transfer, every shell company. It was beautiful in a devastating kind of way, watching a case come together where someone couldn't lie their way out, where the numbers told the truth that no explanation could refute. David tried to fight it initially, tried to claim that the side work was part of a verbal agreement we'd made years ago, tried to say that he was just being entrepreneurial. But the emails told a different story. The text messages to employees bribing them to redirect work told a different story. The fact that he'd used corporate resources and corporate information to set up his operations told a different story. 6 months later, we settled. David agreed to pay back every penny he'd stolen. $187,000. Plus legal fees. Plus damages. By the time it was done, he'd paid back over $220,000. And the court ordered him to stay away from the business, from our clients, and from the employees. But here's what matters more than the money, and I want you to really hear this. I got my confidence back. That business owner who'd been questioning his own judgment at 2 a.m., that version of me died the moment I started taking action instead of spiral. I took that $187,000 and I used half of it to give my employees raises and bonuses, because they'd stuck with me through the chaos. The other half went into rebuilding and strengthening our financial systems so something like this could never happen again. Our consulting firm didn't just survive. We thrived. We grew stronger. We tripled in size within the next 2 years. We became even more successful than before because I stopped wasting energy on someone who didn't deserve my attention. And David? He tried to start another business after that. Tried to rebuild his reputation. But word travels in business circles. People talk. Consultants know other consultants. What he'd done followed him. I didn't have to do anything. The truth did all the work. I ran into someone who'd worked with him after all this went down. They told me his new business had failed. That clients who'd discovered his history stopped working with him. That people just didn't trust him anymore. And I realized that was the real consequence. He didn't just lose money. He lost his professional reputation. He lost the respect of an entire industry. He lost the one thing that can never be recovered in business: trust. As for me, I learned that the biggest revenge isn't destruction. It's moving forward. It's building something better than what you had before. It's becoming so successful, so focused, so determined that the person who tried to destroy you becomes completely irrelevant to your story. My best friend tried to sabotage my business for 3 years. And in the end, he only taught me what I was truly capable of. He taught me that I could face betrayal and choose integrity anyway. He taught me that patience and strategy beat anger and impulse every single time. And most importantly, he taught me that the best revenge is success. Real, legitimate, earned success. The kind that no one can ever take away from you. 3 years of sabotage couldn't stop me. 3 years of betrayal couldn't break me.